So good to be with you. And
Uh,
thank you so much for doing this.
Welcome.
Yeah. So we were just talking about how long it's been since we've known each other and been working professionally together, which
Mhm,
is like since July of last year, right?
mhm, mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like so long ago when I think about it because of how much change has happened in those 7 or 8 months from what I've witnessed. And I'm curious though for if for the sake of whoever might listen later, like what you would say your experience has been, and maybe you could start by reminding me like what was going on for you at the time in life back in the summer of last year when you reached out to me and you were looking for some support.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think first I'll just say like my name's Jose for anybody watching, just to say hello. And yeah, that's a good start. It does feel like it's been some time. It's been like over half a year. And I think when I think about where I was at wanting to reach out to you, I was really suffering. I was really stuck in um kind of like a trauma vortex, I guess is what I would call it. Yeah, I
Mm,
felt like yeah, I felt like there was so
mm,
much going on in my life. I was extremely destabilized, and it just felt like I had tried a lot of different modalities of therapy. I tried parts work, I tried like soul retrieval stuff, I tried like some energy work stuff, and some of that stuff helped, but I just felt like it was so much. It was like at a point where it was just too much. And so I had gone into organic intelligence a little bit at the time. I was taking one of the courses that they offer regularly, and it gave me this framework for how our systems progress and and what the journey out of like a trauma vortex is like. And I remember learning about like the I don't know what they call it, but the graphic of like the progression from being in a trauma vortex to being in like an auto organizing kind of state, and
mm-hmm,
really recognizing how much dysregulation I was in, and that my system was really stuck in dysregulation like a lot. And
mm,
I talked to my teacher, my course teacher in the OI like program, and she recommended I work with someone one-on-one, that working with someone one-on-one might be good. And I remember I was in so much dysregulation. Honestly, I didn't even believe her. Like at the time, I was just like a really bad place, and I didn't even believe her that it would help. I didn't believe anything was gonna work. But I had kind of promised myself, I'd gotten to the point where I'm like, I need to try something, like I need to try something. And so she recommended you as one of the people on the list. And I remember I was praying. I was like, God, like, if someone can help me, like, please direct me because I don't believe, I don't have enough faith, I don't have enough belief, but like, I'm willing to try something. And your
oh,
name really popped out. Like, it really popped out. So I went, I remember like looking up your credentials, and I went and I looked you up, and you had a lot of good stuff that you had written on there. And what stood out to me was that not only did you have the organic intelligence certifications, but you actually had work with shamanic medicine, energy work, and like shamanic stuff like that. And for me,
yeah.
that just feels really relevant to me in this life. So I remember seeing that and being like, okay, all right, this person has like is multidimensional. Like they're not just organic intelligence is great, and I can believe how it works, but organic intelligence felt a little bit too like it felt like too formal, almost like by itself, like too much like a university course instead of like jungle kind of like life, like cosmic mystical stuff. When I saw you have that with the mystical stuff, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. And so I booked a call with you, and it was a really amazing call. Like I remember my thresholds for what I
Yeah.
can handle and what I needed were so small that for me it was like I really needed someone who could meet me and provide me with like an experience of a somatic connection and feeling seen, understood, and connected with in order to progress, in order to choose to move forward with that kind of therapy. And I really got that with you. Like I felt like I really actually felt seen. I felt like connected with, which I know has, some reasons that I'm gonna go into later. But yeah, I felt that and I was like, okay, let's fucking try it. I'm sorry, I cursed. I was like, let's try it. Yeah. And and then yeah, and then I decided to try it out, and it was magical.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so sweet to hear you retell that story, and now it's all coming back to me too. I remember that first conversation, and it's really special to hear you share about it now too, with all of the perspective and regulation that you've gained since then too, to like hear you both like speaking about it with such compassion towards yourself and awareness like of exactly the point at which you were. And yeah, I guess I'm just pausing to
yeah,
also appreciate that even at that point, like you obviously were tuned in enough to make the brave next step forward, despite all of those voices in your head that were like, I don't know, I don't believe, so that's pretty special.
yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you, thank
And to
you.
be discerning too, like that's an important thing for people to practice whenever they start working with someone in any
Yeah,
capacity, and to be
absolutely.
able to feel how the nervous system is meeting the nervous system of the person that's holding space. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I would love for you to
yeah.
get
I felt
into
huge.
what you were starting to there about what you noticed then when we did start working together in terms of like the way that my work in particular has been supportive to you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to tie up the last little bit, that yeah, feeling the nervous system connection part was huge because I had actually gone on consultation with other people and I felt like I didn't get that, like that connection there. But when I had it with you, it did feel really, really big. And yeah, how I'll tie that into how what did I notice? I think I noticed that because I had such a good first time, like first session with you, it actually helped me mm, trust our sessions a little bit. And those first couple sessions we were having were huge. They were really big sessions. Like when I look back at them, they were life transforming sessions. I don't think I've actually taken that in until right now, but like the first three, four sessions that we had were huge. Like I remember there was that session where it felt like I was being reborn, like that shamanic rebirth I had in my room. It was huge. Like it just felt like so much got to move through, that there was a massive shift in the level of consciousness I had because I was retrieving parts of my being that were like stuck previously in extreme overwhelm, frozen, and yeah, and I just remember like landing and being able to land with you on those calls. And usually I was terrified of going into those spaces because I had had experiences of retrieving parts of my soul before that were over my threshold. I didn't have the inner resources or the nervous system connection with a practitioner to feel like I could ground it all down. So for
Mm.
me, it was really scary because I felt like in the past I would land into the overwhelm and then get stuck in the overwhelm. But having you there just guide and just be so present and learning about resources and how to resource myself with like tactile things. I remember I had my blanket which was like mothering me like no tomorrow, and all that was so amazing. And so I remember those couple sessions, it was like I became a new person. Like I expanded into having so much new capacity for connection with myself, connection with the world, connection with other people, with nature, with spirit. Um, there was really big work that we were doing in those first few sessions, like massive work. I've never had in threshold uh work like that done with anybody else that like was sustainable and like stabilizing in the long term, which is
Mhm.
huge. That's one of the things I
Mm.
think I love the most about our work together
Mm.
is how stabilizing it is. Like I can go into challenging places, challenging experiences, emotions, thoughts, states of being. And I feel like even if we end up encountering, things that are painful or can usually be destabilizing, the way that you and I do it, with some of that organic intelligence context, really helps it to be so
Yeah.
stabilizing, which I
Yeah.
love,
I love
stabilizing.
that. I love that it's just so nice for me too as a practitioner to hear you reflect that that is how you've been experiencing it. And um I'm curious if you could share too how you've noticed that actually affecting your like day-to-day life even outside of sessions, that more stabilizing of those more challenging states that we like work on in the integration work that we do in the sessions, like how has it transferred to creating more stability in like your life beyond, the session time?
Mm. Yeah, great question. Well, I feel like because I've been able to move some of that energy out of my nervous system's baseline, even though I'm still going through some crazy stuff that's like quite unsettling and a little bit destabilizing, what I notice is that my nervous system's baseline is much more regulated. Like I have the capacity to land now. I'm not as afraid of things anymore because with you, I was able to complete cycles, like things that were stuck
Yeah.
before, frozen, or fear or intense overwhelm. Like I'm learning that I can complete the cycles now. And so it doesn't feel as nearly as daunting before. Before it felt so scary to need to process things or go into stuff, felt terrifying. But now I feel an innate trust in my body. I don't even think about it, but now that you're bringing this to mind, it's like, yeah, I have like an innate trust in my body that my body can complete cycles, even if sometimes it takes time and, it takes a different environment or a session with you. I know that I have like an innate trust that my body can complete cycles. And so it feels like that in itself makes it a lot easier to allow life, and to be in a relationship with life, the ups of life, the downs of life. um, yeah, that's helpful. And also, yeah, it just feels like yeah, that's one. And then two, because we've moved a lot of energy in our sessions and processed through a lot of nervous system states, the baseline that my nervous system has is just way more grounded, with more ease. I'm still working on like uncoupling, needing to try so hard to do things in life. And I'm
Yeah.
making progress for sure, to bring a little more ease. But yeah, compared to what it used to be, like before, it used to feel like in order to feel even a smidget of regulation, I would have to spend hours doing everything from like breath work to like pleasure practices to all these different things. Now it's like as simple as like, let me go for a walk and like sit by a creek and just feel how like good the snow feels on like, like kind of thing. And it's not always like that, but like I would say a good amount of time. Like 70% of the time, it's that simple,
I love
which is
that.
really nice.
I love that
Mm,
example of having to go from all of those practices to like something simple like a walk and feeling, the snow. It it's also, it's interesting because like, we have usually anywhere from a week to 2 or 3 weeks between each session, but each time we see each other, it's like this long sort of story where I get to like track you over a period of time. And like I I noticed like I have noticed like an exponential increase over time in which like at each session, like whatever you assimilated, whatever you integrated from the one before, just like you whatever you're sharing or reporting in your life is going on in various areas of your life. Like it seems like you've taken action in a way that's either less time working through stuff in order to take the action, or doing the action in a different way where you have like more successful results than you had before. So it's like it seems also like in different arenas of life, and let me know if this is resonating with you, but from what it has seemed is that like those different areas of life have gained traction in terms of your ability to have agency around approaching like your edge in
mm,
different areas of your life. Does that feel
mm.
like that's accurate? That's what I've at least witnessed as like when I hear what you report to me each time we meet.
Yeah, yeah, it feels like I have more awareness of where my thresholds actually are and ability to do that. And yeah, you've helped me a lot, like shifting patterns of kind of like hopelessness and collapse so that it's different. Like they still peak up every now and then, but it does feel like there's a different kind of protocol or a different kind of like neural network in terms of some of those patterns I've dealt with before of like just collapse through our work. Yeah, through having your
Yeah.
support. Yeah,
Yeah.
through really having your support and having you there. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
there's one other thought that I have, which I feel like I'm really appreciating. Sometimes I get tired of like my own voice just doing the teaching, so it's so great to have someone who's worked with me for a while to share from their perspective and in their words too. And it's like, there's something that is a key part of what it's like a huge paradigm shift that comes with doing this work, right? And that is like how, like, when people say, well, I don't have the time or have too much or I'm overwhelmed, so I don't have the ability to like commit to such a process. And it's kind of this ironic paradigm, paradox, because it's like, well, what's that meditative saying? It's like, well, you don't really have time to not meditate because things are so like there's like
I think
in order
it's
to
like
actually
if you
like
only have
achieve
5 minutes to meditate, meditate for 30. Like it's something like that. That's the one I've heard before.
exactly. Yeah, like there's something about this work that actually completely changes that whole paradigm altogether of like I can't because I don't have enough, like I can't fill in the blank because I don't have enough blank or I'm too overwhelmed because of blank or whatever the reasons are. There's something that's like very like almost like retrieving a sense of space and time and power in doing this work that actually is worth doing anyway because then you will gain so much more. And I'm wondering if you could share about that from your perspective in your words, like what that is, because I can hear
Mm,
from what you shared so far that you get that you're
mm.
experiencing that.
Yeah. Um, oh, okay. I think I understand what you're saying. So yeah, I've been in places before where it feels like too much to deal with some of the things that my nervous system needs to deal with. And I think a lot of the times I was exposed to that the way of working through some of that stuff is like that negative reinforcement loop where like you have to feel the pain in order to just feel better, but it feels like it leaves you feeling depleted and you're just like, ugh, and it's just like yucky. It doesn't feel like it actually creates immediate resource. Where I feel that working with you because of, the background that you have and the understanding you have and the spaciousness you have in your own nervous system to be with people, it feels that this work creates resource. Like it's in itself a resource. I've had hard cries, or screams, just so much that has come through in our sessions, but they've always either been supported by or pre like either followed by or brought in by a sense of ease, a sense of resource, a sense of spaciousness, a sense of inspiration, a sense of connection, a sense of feeling cared for. It's like it's almost like sometimes it's been because I felt so cared for that then the feelings can actually move through, but in a way where I'm already being met in an energy of care and in a feeling of like in a feeling of space, in a feeling um of of nourishing connection, like nurturing in a space of being feeling nurtured. Oh, that makes me just tear up a little bit because I just realized how missing that was in my life before. And even though before I had therapists and stuff who I can tell definitely did care about me and did have, this concern, there's like a different quality with you. Yeah, there's a different quality with you. And so to just wrap up my point to your question, I feel that the way you work is you create resource, you create space, you create things that actually contribute to well-being. And then in doing that, it allows for whatever's ready to process through, whether it's a pain or a frozen state, to kind of trickle out into a space that already feels like resource as opposed to that moving into a space that feels like emptiness, that feels like hollowness, that feels like dangerous, that feels unsafe. It's not like that with you. With you, it's like, let's bring that into a space where it already feels like there's resource that is present, there is care that is present, there is presence that is present, and guidance that actually creates a sense of safety. And so it makes it feel like it's actually easy. Like I remember at one point I started looking forward. I was like, wow, I can't wait till my next soul retrieval. Even though it's like, like all this and then whatever. But I'm like, because of the feeling of it, it's like, and because I know what it offers me, like it offers me greater nervous system regulation, greater capacity to be connected with other people, with myself, with the magic of the universe, with music, with everything that I'm working on. It got
Mm,
me looking forward to that, which
mm,
is awesome. So
mm.
yeah, I hope that I
Yeah,
feel like
it
yeah answers the question.
totally it does.
Okay,
And
cool.
that last thing you said made me want to add one last tiny question because you're talking about what you're looking forward to now. Well, not only just like, first of all, thank you. I aspire to have it be something that people look forward to, like a positive thing. Yes. But also like you started to talk about how it's having you look forward in your life as well to like your creative expression and these things coming forth. And what has doing this work helped you to feel like you can look forward to in like a big picture way in your life?
Well, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I haven't thought about it. Hmm. I think like feeling, wow, that's a good question. I haven't given it like ample thought, so I feel like this would be one that I would love to sit with. But what comes kind of naturally is first just like my connection to the earth and the fact that I know it can just deepen and deepen and deepen and like how connected I feel with the planet, with the earth, along with the possibility of just changing my life around, specifically when it comes to actually having like a career. For a long time, I think I had so much dysregulation that it didn't really feel like I could actually put myself out there. But since we've been working together, I've been able to do, like I had my first solo concert like show just last month, which was I've been wanting to do that like for a long time.
That's
For a
amazing.
long time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really cool. And now I'm like finishing up this breathwork certification and learning is so much more enjoyable and so much deeper now. And so yeah, in a really simple way, I would say I'm looking forward to what's possible. Like that more is possible, more than I thought is possible. That there's more that's possible. And I know I can get more specific, but I'd have to sit with that a little bit
No,
longer.
I love that. No, I love that so much. That sense of possibility is so valuable. So valuable. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Can I share something that I was thinking about while I was leading up to this? I prepared something.
Yeah, one more while we're still on the yeah, yeah, yeah. Go for it.
So
Yes.
one of the things that I feel, I was thinking, I'm like, what would I want people to know? What I personally want? I know you kind of have like are leading this interview, but I was thinking like, what is something that I would want people to know about my experience with you specifically? And one of the things that I noted is just that whenever we do sessions, and sometimes I can, when I'm a little bit more grounded than I am today, I can really feel the spaciousness that you have in your nervous system. And I feel that you bring this like uh this resonance or this um like energy in your own, your own field, but also in your own nervous system because of the work, all of the work that you've done with yourself and with your, system that makes there's this certain like availability, ease, and like I don't know, this like positive like vibe that just I noticed that feels like for me when I feel into that, it's giving me like I give it credit for a lot of the new templates I've been able to receive for the healing I've been able to receive and for the way that sessions can be quite magical and things can kind of just come through in really organic, magical, simple, easy ways, but really impactful still and powerfully as well. And yeah, it's something I've been thinking about that before I was coming on. I was like, oh yeah, like you have like your nervous system, you've done a lot of work, and I feel like I can tell, and it comes through in really subtle ways, just in our sessions, where it's almost like sessions, are a combination of what we do with just me being able to share, process some of the energy, like medicine that you bring, but just the being in your field, like you have a certain I wish I had a better word than this. Like a certain energy, like a frequency or like a resonance to your field in itself that like when I come into it, I can feel it. Like I notice it and I feel it. And 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 although it's like new and parts of me are still working through like, whoa, like it's really safe to, kind of ease into the field that you bring because the field you bring allows for a lot of spaciousness, like a lot of like I feel like I can actually show up in more of myself because it feels like there's a lot of spaciousness in your field and the way that I feel you. It feels like there's actually space there for me, which is huge, and I feel like has been a big influencing piece in our sessions that I don't think I've ever told you before.
I
But yeah.
love that. Thank you for sharing it. And it also has me just appreciating something that I share with people in general, which sometimes is hard to believe at first, which is like when we enter the field of, what you're calling the frequency, or you could call it organic intelligence, or you could call it cosmic intelligence, you could call it just that space that we get into as we clear more layers of trauma and we have just more sense of like clear presence like that is like in some ways if we put that first in our lives, like it kind of guarantees that any other goal in our life, whether we're a parent or whether we're a musician or whatever our contribution is or whatever we want to do in this life, like it just becomes that much easier because it just kind of just sources all of that stuff with this good energy, with this energy that makes it so that we're not burning out in our doing, but it just kind of like flows from
Yes.
us. And
Yes.
it's really why I think like that's why this work saved my life personally. And it's so lovely to get to hear how that's coming through to other people, and it just kind of proves the point that like when we put ourselves first in this really healthy way of like letting ourselves have that space in our nervous system and have that healing, it pays forward in like these ways that feel so meaningful, just like it's so meaningful for me to hear you say this back after working with you for a while. Like
Mhm.
that feeds me back to know that that's happening thanks to the work I've done, and that's going to keep happening in your life thanks to the work you're doing, and it just ripples.
Mhm.
So
Totally.
thank you so much for that reflection.
You're welcome.